Rabbi Caplan, would you like to hear a few words?
I was reading an article about the documentary that just came out. Of course, I don't know these things. Don't listen to radio, don't watch television, Kolschke. I don't know about computer. I was reading an article that they made a documentary about the leadership of the state of Israel in its beginning, and how they brought over the Jews from North Africa and how they treated them. The names of those that put out this documentary are David Derry, Ruti Yuval, and Doron Galezer. They don't sound like from people, these names. And I read a review of this documentary that they wrote, and it comes out that when they first started the state of Israel, they needed people here. They needed creatures that they call them either human beings or people. And they brought Jews from North Africa and from other countries. And their main purpose was to settle the land and to settle the small villages and moshavim and kfarim all around, and not the main cities, the big cities. And they actually looked down on these people as just a working force. And they forced them to go living in these places that were not settled, sometimes in tents and sometimes with very hard conditions. And they bring in this review of this documentary different statements that these people said, things the what they call the leadership, and it's mamish terrible, mizazea, to read the language that they used about these fellow Jews. There's like they said, one of them said, we're drawing out of wells of 500 years of sandstorms, because they lived in North Africa where there were a lot of deserts around. They're covered with 500 years of sandstorms, but we still need them to fill up the land. Not because they to save people from living in the Arab countries, only to save the land that shouldn't be empty. And they forced them to go live in places that was hard to live in. And yeah, it's very bad when you read it. It mamish hurts when you see how with what they used to build up this country to make a state, and the problem still exists till today. Who knows what would have been? I was once going with a taxi driver, not from. I was talking to him. He was telling about how hard his mother worked to raise 10 children, and when they first came here, and he said, "Look, these professors, they get prizes for their life's work, but what my mother should get a prize for raising 10 children." Could be he said she was alone. So, and in the course of the conversation, I said to him that the Zionists, when they started their Medina, they brought from all kinds of countries. I said everyone has to stay with his culture, his way of life, and they wanted it to be a melting pot in every day. And everybody should become Israelis instead of being what they are, instead of living the way they live. And he said, "Oh, you're saying so good. Even the Chilonim understand this, the rishis of Ben Gurion and his group." Also, there's terrible stories of there was a Moshe Cole that I think I still remember the name, the head of the Aliyat HaNor and the Sochnut, that he says anybody doesn't want to go to where we tell them to go in this country, we don't have to help them, we don't have to support them, they should die from starvation. Either they go to live in all over, or we're not helping them at all. So leave them in their countries where they came from if you're not going to help them, you're not going to treat them like human beings. No, they're starting to dig up documents from 70 years ago. And especially now is the time to talk about this. Now that they're celebrating 70 years of this Medina, I mean, you can say that it's like I heard from Adam Gadol, Rav Cheshin. I once heard him say, Herzl, he said he saw a problem, and there was definitely a Jewish problem. Living in Europe, in anti-Semitic Europe, was a big problem. I think in the last years before the Holocaust, they boycotted Jewish businesses, and the Jewish workers, and they didn't give them work. It was very bad, the situation in Europe. I once heard from a Jew that lived in Arnov that he said his parents came to, I think he said they came to Israel in 1930. 1930, I think he said. They were Alexander Hasidim. And he told me this Yid's name was Reb Shrage Katz. He died a few years ago. He was already born here in Israel, but he said his parents, or his father, he felt already that Poland is not a place for Jews to live. He felt the anti-Semitism. I mean, you can't ask questions why other people didn't come, because it's all minah shamayim, and for whoever was nigzar on and who it wasn't nigzar on, but this person says he felt that you can't live in Poland anymore, and he came to Eretz Yisrael. Ad kedei kach that he said he didn't ask his Rebbe, which is unusual by the Hasidim to not ask the Rebbe, and because he was afraid to ask. And he had a siyata dishmaya that his whole family was saved, and there are others like that also, but not that many. But there definitely, what I'm saying is that there definitely was a Jewish problem. The Jews had a problem living in anti-Semitic Europe. And Herzl was looking for a solution. The solution was, okay, let them all live together. Let's all live together in our own state. But the leaders of this Medina, after they made a Medina, they're the real Rishonim. Man, we were used to always saying that Herzl was a Rosh. He probably was. I don't know what he was, but the things they quote from him, terrible things, that he wanted to assimilate the Jews. We should all become goyim. Okay, but it's. You could think that that's the biggest Russia that there was. Later on, Ben Gurion and his group and the Bagat of nowadays, the High Court, they showed that you can be a bigger Russia than Herzl. And they made a Medina, and they treated these other Jews like dirt. in order to help build up their Medina. Not because they valued them, not because they respected them, only because they happened to be creatures that in their eyes they were creatures that walked on two legs, and they had shoulders and they could carry loads with it, so it's worth using them to settle the country. And then it's known what they did to the Taimanim when they came here, and the Tamimis or Bipshitas, they believed that they're coming to the Holy Land. Then they mamishmatted them up. And all this is now is a time to talk about this, not because we need all this stuff. We know that the Rishonim are Rishonim. But it's very painful when you hear about them. When you hear that such rishus could be done in this world, in this Kadar origin, on this globe, there could be such rishus could be done. And also it hurts even more when you know a few buildings down from my house. I live on Sholzon 34. A few buildings down, there's a shul there. There are many fine Jews that come there, and it's called the Dutch shul, but it's not really. There's two Gaboim there that are Dutch, and that's why it's called the Dutch shul. It's base house, real. It's called. They have their shir from Rabbi Weiss once a week. A lot of fine Jews there, and yet there's a group of people in that shul that they say Hal on Yom Ha'atzmaut. After everything that we know and we heard and we found out and it's being uncovered more and more, still these naive Americans, and in some I would call naive, and some I would call balei gaiva, that they can't change their minds or they can't hear any different from anybody else. They can still say Hal on Yom Ha'atzmaut. So what are you going to say? That the state of Israel has saved some Jews from assimilation, maybe, because it gave an identity to many Jewish people, and they felt proud of being Jewish, so it saved from assimilation. And then another thing you could say, that since there's a place where Jews are organized in a certain way, there's a government, so it's much easier to have Torah institutions and much easier to have Yiddishkeit. Now, that's all true. So that means that there are times, there are things that happen. Tragedies can even happen sometimes. And much later you can see good things in the goodest stuff that came out of the tragedy. I mean, and suppose you have say a father dies and leaves a family, and the oldest son, he says to himself, I have to take responsibility. My mother alone can't run a house. I have to take responsibility, and not only that, only he has to also help support the family, so he becomes a more responsible person, and he becomes hardworking, and he starts understanding the importance of time, and he understands the importance of Adam La'omo Yulad, of working hard, and he understands what it means Rachmanas on others, and a lot of things he begins to understand that and then Bechlal, the whole thing of Tov La'Gever Ki Yisrael, all because his father died, and it was the yoke was put on his shoulders. So you're going to say it's a good thing that the father died. I mean, it's a tragedy that a father died and left young children. So for this son, it came out the good things.
Rabbi Caplan, we're taking a break now. Thank you.